Pick Up the Six is sponsored by Mud Gear. Mud Gear serves the unleashed with gear for the modern hybrid athlete that's made tougher. They've created strong, functional performance gear like their performance shirts, shorts, and socks. I wear Mud Gear on the regular. Whether it's for a road race, an obstacle adventure, or a ruck, Mud Gear can help you gear up for extreme performance. Go to mudgear.com, use the code PUT6, and save 15% off today.
Welcome to F3, Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith, where men come together for something more than just a workout. Our core principles define us: free of charge, open to all men, held outdoors, peer-led, and end in a circle of trust. Whether you want to run, lift heavy things, or focus on bodyweight exercises, F3 has over 4,000 workouts available worldwide. Join us, experience the camaraderie, the challenge, and the transformation of F3, where men can get right so that they can lead right.
Join us here at Pick Up the Six as we introduce you to the men and women among us who go above and beyond through service, purpose, and impact. Whether it's travel in the United States or right here from our studios, we can't wait to pick up the six with you. Hey guys, what is up? Brian Jodas back with another episode of Pick Up the Six. Excited that you are carving out some time with us to talk about service, purpose, and impact. And we've got a longtime friend of the show back again, and a new friend and special guest joining us in just a matter of moments. We have a great conversation. We're going to get into some stuff, man. We're going to talk about some things that maybe you've heard in and around the plant-based medicine world. Maybe you've heard in and around the services and care for our warfighters. And we're going to talk about that today. And we've had some similar conversations. We've always come back to what kind of information can we find? And I'm trying to get educated too. So we're going to get a little education on as we get to talk to Eric and Lumi today. Before that, let me thank a few folks that make this show possible. Thanks to the guys at Mud Gear, as always, for gearing us up for the outdoor athlete, that hybrid outdoor athlete, whether it's on a run, a trail run, a ruck, man, getting after on an obstacle course, get outside, get dirty, get the sun in your eyes, man, get some dirt on you, get your feet in the grass. Well, Mud Gear's got you outfitted for everything you need to perform at your best outdoors. Go to mudgear.com, use the code PUT6, save 15% off today. It is a rare occasion if we don't throw on some Mud Gear apparel to get us through a workout these days. So special thanks to those guys. And it performs well in the gym too. So whatever you need, they've got you covered. And thanks to the fine folks at Momentous for hooking us up with all the supplement needs that we've got. Whether it's creatine, vitamins, whey protein, livemomentous.com, code Brian J, to again get you performing at your best. And thankful to those two sponsors for making this thing happen. And of course, so the Mud Gear at the beginning, thanks to the men of F3 for always being instrumental in my life. I'll introduce you to some other great folks that help make this program happen as well. All right, another episode. But you know what? Eric's back once again. Eric, good to see you, my brother. It's been a minute, man. We'll bring Lumi in a second. But, dude, been a minute. But good, man. Good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise, dude. It has been a long time. It's good to always chat with you. And every time we're up to something, it's you're the first call, actually. So.
Well, bro, it's my honor and privilege, man. Anytime you need something, I'm always there. I go back to like how we got introduced. We talked to you that first time when you were running for Congress. We got some other conversations. We had some friends of yours on, right, to be able to just continue to talk about things that have happened in around your life. And we're rocking the JAG 28 Mark Forster Foundation hat today. So for all of our friends in that Air Force Special Operations Combat Control space, and I know Mark, a guy that's, in your purview and amongst your ranks, one that your brothers have honored for years, having given his life in combat. And so, man, we're just linked back up again.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, dude. You've always been a good supporter of combat control. So appreciate you. Yeah, man, no doubt. I've actually got a good friend here locally that's combat control guy, and we've started, man, just becoming buddies, and we try to do some work together and stuff. So, yeah, man, love what you guys do. Bringing the heat from the sky down to the battlefield. Which is good. Man, I was excited. You know how politics is, right? You dipped your toe into this space for a minute. Yeah. There was some talk about trying to phase out some F-15s at the Air Force Base where I grew up as a kid, and
luckily, cooler heads prevailed and they did not. Cause I was like, man, you need that workhorse in the sky, bro.
Yeah, man. I think it's always usually someone that wants to make a name for themselves, right? It's like they're always trying to chop the A-10, the F-15. Right. The F-15 was my first jet that QRF'd me on a tick. So I have a big heart for the F-15. So.
Yeah. Well, I do. My father flew around in them for years, and it's always something, man. Anytime I can drive east and head towards Goldsboro and see them coming in and out and hear that noise, makes you feel good. So, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, before we bring Lumi in, man, how have you been? Like, how are things going with the foundation? We're going to talk about Operation Soul Rescue, but there's been a lot that's happened over the last few years. What we're trying to make sure we never lose sight of is the longer we get sort of detached from kind of wartime efforts, maybe it's easier to, obviously not our audience, not you guys listening, forget about those, but man, it's just other things happen, other things pop up, but I know you guys have continued work to do to make sure specifically those in that space, combat controllers and their loved ones and families, aren't forgotten through this process.
Yeah. I mean, the boys are still out there working, so just because it's not in the news or it's not an official thing. I mean, combat controllers are all over the world doing God's work, and ready to bring it down if they need to. But yeah, the foundation's doing well. We're going into our third year. Like you mentioned, Operation Soul Rescue. And we can get into it when you're ready. But yeah, it was a big initiative for us where, we had to do something. It's like we've kind of hit our mark and we need to keep, you got to evolve our parish, right? And we need to do something, keep our guys and our families safe and give them a good chance to deal with civilian world and just life in general. So yeah.
Let's bring in our extra guest, our next guest. Lumi joins the show, and she's a big part of what this mission is going to look like. Before we really talk about the details of it, and you guys get me educated on what you're trying to do and how you're going to do it, right? The different way in which you're looking to address anxiety, depression, PTSD, and ultimately a big focus is walking guys away from that precipice of doing the one thing we can't reverse, right? Mm-hmm. There's one thing that men, when you get isolated, I'm going to talk just to the guys for a second, but guys and gals, but guys, when you get isolated, right, bad things can happen. And there's one thing we can't walk back from, right? And that's what we're ultimately trying to avoid here, is getting them away from that precipice. And then Lumi joins in the show she's going to talk a little bit more about it, but welcome to Pick Up the Six for the first time.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for all the work you do.
Absolutely. It's my honor and privilege to be able to do it. So guys, talk to me about this thing, right? We've known that, Eric, for First Air Foundation, you've always wanted to provide resources and help and assistance to not just veterans, not just combat controllers themselves, but their families, specifically those maybe who have lost loved ones in combat. But there's always been this underlying conversation, all right, the guys that come home that have maybe those wounds we can't see, what are we going to do to address it? And I think what you're trying to do here is look for alternative ways to do it. And the point being, and I'll just flat out say, we can't always wait on government entities and a bottle of pills to solve these problems. And so you're getting deep, man, and you're looking to go to the root, sort of pun intended here, to talk about this. So just give me the big premise. And then Lumi, I know once Eric does that, I'd love to hear about, because I know this is important for you. Personally, I know this is important for you too.
Yeah. So, I appreciate all that. We've been doing the same thing for years, right? I mean, 22 years of fighting, guys keep coming back. And obviously, the alcohol or the drugs or guys getting in trouble, and people are just, you have all these wonderful organizations that are trying to, change and help guys out, men and women, obviously with PTSD or, depression, whatever it is, survivor's guilt. But what the answer is, pills or, these outdoor activities, and these organizations do a great job at doing that. But at the same time, what I realized was we have left our guys, and I say guys in general, right? But we have left these people on the emotional, on a spiritual battlefield, because what I've realized is if you don't treat the soul, the mind and the body, that's just kind of the shell of it, right? And you have to treat that in order for this person to truly heal, for them to make themselves feel better. And a lot of people didn't know, but plant medicine found me, particularly ayahuasca, which is, it's a couple of big celebrities have come out and talked about it. But that's the one vine that has helped me, where it has repaired my soul. Well, I feel whole. Well, I feel like I used to when I was a little kid, before the traumas of life and war and, everything else that comes on with life. And, after Rush killed himself, I mean, you're the reason why, we kind of started talking after, well, Congress and then Rush, but my teammate took his life 6 months after being out of the teams. And I was kind of going through that. And I think a lot of the guys that do get out suffer from that. And it was his sister who met Lumi at an event, and they started talking, and they were, and, Amy Rush's sister was saying like, hey, I have my buddy who's starting this foundation and he's done plant medicine and it's really changed them. And, I'll let Lumi tell her story, but, she was like, oh, I can help with that. I'm a facilitator. And we, this was 2.5 years ago. So it's just funny how I think, God and the universe or whatever creator you want to talk, just kind of like merge these two paths together. And here we are, man. Lumi and I talked and it's just like, it just makes sense. We got to treat the soul, and whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, I mean, there's something else to it human, which is the soul that we never talk about. It's just never talked about,
No, but and Eric, you're right. Yeah. So I want to connect the dots a few things. Had you gone down your own journey with ayahuasca and plant-based medicine before you guys met?
I have. Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool and interesting. And the underlying theme too is like, we do get so focused on, we got to fix physical. If you got physical ailments or even between the ears and maybe even the heart, but the soul's a whole nother deeper level. Yeah. And quite frankly, this is a belief I have, right? Like one, I believe it was gifted to you. My creator is God.
Yeah.
But it's so unique to that individual. I mean, it's all you really have. And at the end of the day, when you go and the lights go out, it's all that's, I think it's all that's sort of handed over as well, right? The rest of it fades away. So that's just some thought on it. So you had got down that journey before. Lumi, when you get introduced to Eric, where, how do you start comparing stories? Just tell us your story in connection to this and sort of how you get to this point too.
Sure. I know the question is where do we start? Right. How far back do I start? But I, the first time I went down to Peru and started working with this medicine, I went down for healing and had almost like an accidental initiation and ended up spending 4 months down there, really learning the language, learning the art form of holding ceremony with this medicine, and learning all about the plants and the magic of this very traditional and ancient way of healing, specifically in the lineage of the Shipibo people of the Peruvian Amazon rainforest. A few years after, or shortly after I returned from that jungle trip, my younger brother, who was very, very close to growing up, we're 21 months apart, he served in the army, and he very, very unexpectedly took his life and died by suicide. And it was a month after I had just spent 10 very beautiful days with him. And it was such a surprise to myself and our family and everyone in his community. It was quite shocking. And that was when I really started learning more about suicide and about this epidemic of loneliness and isolation, particularly in men, particularly with veterans, which I was just so unaware of. I hate that I was, but it took something like that to happen to me to really start to understand. And so from then on, I really, I spoke to God, and I spoke to the plants that I work with very closely in these healing ceremonies. And I said, okay, like this is in honor of my brother and what the world clearly needs. This is part of my mission. And when I'm ready, Spirit, God, Creator will bring me the opportunity to serve this population with greater depth, however I'm supposed to. So it felt very just synchronous, kismet, aligned, when I did meet Amy Rush and was introduced to Eric and the First Air Foundation, and this pathway opened.
I'm terribly sorry that happened to you and your family, to have to go through that real unthinkable thing that unfortunately has happened to far too many. To be able to take that with you and get missional on that and then go work to save more from doing that, a lot of credit goes into be able to be able to do that. I'm hearing things like spirit and magical and ceremony, right? This seems like really in depth. And I don't know a damn thing about it other than I've heard Aaron Rodgers a little bit. I've heard some celebrities, right? Talk to Eric, but I'd love to know more about, like, to the extent you can talk about it. Cause I'm sure it's one of those things like you need to see and feel, but what is the aim here, right? By tapping into a plant-based medicine like this, that has like seriously deep, long historical roots and ritual with these people, why can this be a real potential game changer, specifically in this space of depression, anxiety, and PTSD?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. We go through our lives in our modern day world, and things happen to us. We get banged up. We have we have relationships. We have relationship endings. We have feelings about how those things ended. We have shame. We have guilt. We go through life and we accumulate these things that stick to us. They stick to our spirit. They stick to our bodies. They can cause physical illness through the emotional heartache. But it's impacting us on a deeper level, and it's impacting us on the soul level. And these accumulations build up, and it's kind of how I see and how a lot of folks who work with this medicine see the anxiety or see the depression, or this disconnection from our purpose and from what makes us feel alive and happy to be alive. It's this kind of accumulation of stuff in our field that gets in the way of that inherent, the birthright of our connection with life. And one of the ways this medicine works is it comes in and it clears that away by allowing us to feel everything that we've repressed and shoved down. So that's kind of the hard part of the ceremony, is we have to feel the things we've repressed. But I think one of the reasons it's so potent and so needed right now is it offers us this sort of defibrillation or hardwiring back into life and back into a remembrance of who we are and what's actually important in our lives, and how to say the things that we need to say and do the things we need to do.
Incredible. Okay, quick break. I want to come back because I want to ask Eric specifically about your experience, and then also, like, what's the sales pitch to the tough, tattooed warfighter guy? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, hey man, we're going to go on this like wellness retreat. He's like, fuck that. You know what I mean? So let me take a quick break, because I want, think about that when we come back, right? That's what we're going to talk about, how we get the hardened guy to do this. Quick break. We'll be right back. Eric and Lumi on Pick Up the Six right after this.
Welcome to F3, Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith, where men come together for something more than just a workout. Our core principles define us: free of charge, open to all men, held outdoors, peer-led, and end in a circle of trust. Whether you want to run, lift heavy things, or focus on bodyweight exercises, F3 has over 4,000 workouts available worldwide. Join us, experience the camaraderie, the challenge, and the transformation of F3, where men can get right so that they can lead right.
Hi, Joel Maurer, founder of Dink Ninjas. Dink Ninjas was dreamed up and started right here in Austin, Texas, a dynamic pickleball community. We arm pickleballers with the paddles, apparel, and accessories to dink like a ninja. Dink Ninjas is dedicated to supporting mental health awareness and cancer research. Shop our full lineup at dinkninjas.com.
Are you searching for connection? Do you struggle with loneliness? There is hope. We are F3, Fitness, Fellowship, Faith. Our mission is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men for the invigoration of male community leadership. We have 5 core principles.
Free of charge, open to all men, held outdoors, rain or shine, peer-led, and it ends in a circle of trust.
Go to f3nation.com.
All right, we're back with Eric and Lumi talking about, man, just really fascinating stuff, tackling PTSD, anxiety, depression with plant-based medicine, specifically ayahuasca, and their sort of separate, now joined journeys on this path, right, to wellness, but then also to serve those. Before the break, I teed Eric up and said, I want to know what it's like, the sales pitch, right, to the war fighter, your buddies, right, that you're trying to serve with this, to get them bought in, to get them to participate. What are those conversations been like, Eric? I assume a lot of it is, hey man, this is sort of like the old hair club for men. I'm not only the president, I'm also a client kind of deal. Like I've been there. I've been in your shoes.
Yeah. That's, I wish you would have known me when I was an operator, right? I was, what makes us great is you become a machine. You train, you go to war, nothing comes in front of those two things, right? It's your teammates and it's for God and country, right? You just go. And family, all that stuff doesn't matter. Sympathy, empathy, all the stuff that as humans we should have, but we suppress so that way we can go do our job. So, you have
to. I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah,
you carry all that on the battlefield. Like you could be distracted.
Yeah,
you could miss.
Nothing comes before the mission, and I loved it. But as you do get out of that life and you become human, it's a different world. So I was struggling quite a bit, drinking a whole bunch, and I couldn't figure out why. And, I was diagnosed with depression and everything, couldn't sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then a buddy of mine introduced me to ayahuasca, and the change was instant, and people can just tell. I don't know how, but they can just tell. And the way I sold it to them, to answer your question, was guys were asking me like, man, you don't drink the way you used to. Like you're a different guy. Like you're, I think, a little bit more empathetic and right. Nice, and when they see that, it's coming from a guy like me, they have to trust, right? They trust you because I was their teammate, and they know that I wouldn't be, I'm not one of those barista dudes with a sock on my head. It's like, drink this and I'll make you in touch with your feelings, and the dudes are going to be like, okay, if it's changed you and I've become a better man, a better son, a better boyfriend, and for them, it's giving them a chance to get back to the way God intended us to be, for them to be better fathers, better teammates, better brothers, and then let go of all that. We carry that heavy cross, we carry that burden. Some guys, trauma from childhood. A lot of this stuff hasn't been war. It's been trauma from being kids. And when you can, like Lumi said, when you can come face to face with it, and this ayahuasca lets you get rid of that, and you're whole, and you finally, those days when you were a kid and you cried so much you put yourself to sleep. It's like this medicine does that for you. You finally let go. And so my teammates seeing that, and these guys that I went to war with, are just like, okay, if it's working for you, I knew the way you were back when you were an operator. And now you're telling me this will work and give me peace. And like we mentioned prior to the show, it's like, you look at the video I made, it's like I used to make fun of people, right? They're like, I just want peace. But now it's like, I get it. I understand what they're coming. It's just this wholeness and just being at this calm level. And ayahuasca did that. And Lumi, she's a great facilitator. And for my community, first there in Operation Soul Rescue, I wanted it to be this intimate ceremony, because it is a very sacred, very unique, and very intimate, and it's vulnerable, right? It's just you're a small group of people, like letting that out, letting their trauma out or something that's plagued them for years. So you can't have, I know there's other types of ceremonies out there that, are huge, and it becomes this cash cow, but what I wanted for my community is something that's truly going to help the soul, that's going to set this person up for the rest of their lives. So, I mean, how can you not invest in, like you were saying, your soul? That's one thing that you're given, when you go meet your God, it's like, this belongs to you and you got to take care of it. And I was blessed that I met Lumi and the way she facilitates. But yeah, that's what sold the guys. It's just like, all right, man, if you're like better now, I want to get there, and then within 48 hours or so, it's a change.
It's the way to lead, right? Like, I'm not going to ask you to do anything or suggest you do something I wouldn't consider doing myself.
Absolutely.
All right, Lumi. So now the curiosity kicks in. What is this? What does it feel like? What does it do to you? What are these ceremonies like? And then what's to take a turn from my buddy over here? What's the battle rhythm? Like, is this one and done? Is it like an oil change? I'm so dumb I don't know what I'm talking about. Right.
Oh
Like,
man, we could talk for hours on those questions.
Sure.
I'll try to nutshell it. There's so much to say.
Yeah.
I really want to highlight too for all of your listeners, Brian, that there's a saying in my community, and it's everyone wants to do ayahuasca, but nobody wants to do the dishes. And that ayahuasca by itself isn't a panacea. It's not going to solve all your problems. You know, each participant comes with their intentions, with their prayers, you know, for their healing, for their renewed sense of self. And that's a collaboration with this medicine. Many people who have familiarity with this medicine believe that ayahuasca has its own spirit. And so that's why it works so uniquely with each person. We can get into more of the really fascinating science that's starting to come out and the theories around epigenetics and the way the medicine works individually with each of us in our genetics. It's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Medicine works super individually for each participant. So some people, it may be a very physical, very somatic experience. Other people, it might be more visionary. Visions aren't guaranteed. Other people might be working through like some really sticky traumas that are deeply embedded in different parts of the body. There might be these profound insights and ahas. I serve the medicine in a 2-night container, minimum 2 nights. And oftentimes we say the first night's like the hospital and the second night's the church. If there's a third night in there, there might be school. But it can really run the gamut in terms of what it feels like. And then after, integration is also really paramount. And so taking time to be with the experience, and if someone has a therapist or their own sort of healing, helpful practice of being with themselves and continuing to do the work of growth, of self-growth and self-improvement, the medicine works really well with other modalities too. The way I serve the medicine, the way a lot of people do, is at night. It's an evening. It's an evening ceremony. There's a lot of practical stuff that's shared at the beginning, like, hey, here's how to ask for help. Here's what this might feel like. Here's some recommendations for working with these sensations. Here's why you might need help. If you need an extra blanket or your water bottle refilled, or like you're feeling scared, here's what we can do for you, and here's how we can help you. Please ask for help, right? And part of the healing of this experience is just having the loving presence of the attendees, of the facilitators, be there to help you through some pretty usually like big moments from this experience. And other healing part is just the ritual aspect of the ceremony and the community aspect of like, man, I am with 5 of my brothers, or, you know, of these other people who are coming in so earnestly, and just hearing their prayers and like their reflections the morning after and share circle is so interesting and healing in itself too. So it's the whole experience that creates, I think, the life-changing transformation. It has the ability to, not just the part where we drink the medicine, although that's the catalyst.
Well, and it feels like, just sort of from the outside looking in and learning, like in a lot of things, but specifically something like this, people that participate, you want them to be, you know, all in, but feel safe, feel right. So that's why I think facilitator to me feels very important, right? So that they know there's a loving, caring professional who knows what's happening. And then also just feel safe with that group, right? Like, especially if you're going to be working through what could be some very intense emotions, feelings, visions, like you mentioned. You just got to feel like whatever happens in this time frame, I'm good here.
We're good. Yeah.
We're good here. Right?
Totally. Yeah. So we, you know, at the beginning of our, you know, when our group comes together, we're like, okay, here's our agreements, you know, for the weekend or for the retreat or for, you know, this ceremony. Here's our agreements. And also, we're having ayahuasca. So if you color outside the lines of an agreement, you know, it's all good. It's all okay. Like we're gonna going to be your bumpers and the bowling lane to help you be where you need to be and be safe and have the best experience you can have. Get what you need.
Eric, have you seen in the limited time you guys have been working on this? I got to think if you go through this experience with a small group, you probably want to stay in touch with those folks too. Like they become real kind of inner circle, what I'd call in the F3 ranks, like a shield lock, right? Like a circle of trust. You've been through this shared experience together.
It's like a pipeline, right? It's like going through the combat control pipeline or the, Q course, whatever, because it's such a big event in your life. And all of us, I mean, a lot of the guys have gone through work controllers, so I'm very tight with them already. So that bond becomes even tighter. But I just want to go back to somebody said, people that do this medicine, it's because they're at the end of the rope. Nothing else has worked, right? So there's like, I will try anything. And two, these people want to heal. They're not just doing it for ayahuasca. It's not a drug for one, it's a medicine. And it's not a medicine that you want to just take because you want to hopefully, meet your maker or see or hallucinate. It's none of that because like Lumi said, it does have a spirit. I believe it does because it will show you what it wants to show you and what you need to be shown, not necessarily what you're expecting. And it's very safe. No, you can't get addicted to it. You can't die from it, so it's a very special plant or vine, let me correct me wrong, but it's something that we're blessed to have here on earth that it's been used for centuries. But this medicine is amazing, man. And it's sacred.
Eric's going to tell us before we go, with the little bit of time that we have left, how you guys can support this effort, right? So Operation Soul Rescue needs your support. There's ways in which you can gift some support. So then, right, they can then take this mission to those in need. But before that, Lumi, tell me a little bit more about like what's the future of this look like? It's gaining more awareness, more people talking about it. What is right? What does the future look like for this, and how do you ensure that it doesn't get corrupted, watered down? Because I'm sure those are real things, especially for the people that have access to this, that are a part of it, right? You've said sacred so many times. I can only imagine you want to protect this thing too.
Oh, thank you so much for this question. Two things come to mind. One is protecting the roots and the origin of the indigenous habitats of where this medicine grows. So many people know that the Amazon rainforest is, it's being slaughtered. It's being cut down tons of acres every day, and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But it does have a big impact on our future, and so protecting these environments is key to protecting the future of this medicine. And the keys of that of the power to protect in the right hands is really key also. The second aspect is, I think, the safety, which is marrying the science with the spirituality and with the tradition. So one of the really exciting initiatives we're doing at First there is a research initiative with this medicine and a neuroscience team. So we're organizing an IRB process, and will hopefully be published in a peer-reviewed journal down the road. We're just beginning now with what is the question we're going to ask. But I think what's really exciting is, this medicine isn't for everyone, and that's why we have a rigorous intake process too. And so really honing in on the types of people it's going to really help, and the types of people that it's just not best for. And as science matures, our understanding matures, as legality matures, stigma reduces, we can have more of these open conversations and share information to make the whole process more safe.
You're battling a lot of things. One, stigma, right? Like, what are we talking about? Is this like mushrooms? Is this like peyote? Like what? There's some of that, right? It's an education and awareness and stigma. And then you're battling giants. You're battling giants. You're battling giants in the pharmaceutical industry. You're battling giants in the alcohol industry. You're battling giants in the drug and non-pharmaceutical drug industries. So you're a disruptor, right? To an extent. So you're always going to have those things. It's always fascinating to me, right? I've heard Joe Rogan say this numerous times. United States of America, our home country, one of two countries who has pharmaceutical ads on TV like we do. It's like, what? Real? Yeah. Like, I think it's America and New Zealand, the only one that allows those level. And it's become comical in my household. We watch TV and my daughter's like, well, what ad are we going to hear next? It's going to tell you you're going to, shit all over she doesn't say this. She's 12. Right? You're going to poop all over the place and you might have I'm like, I know it's crazy, isn't it? So whether this thing is not for everybody, like some of those other modalities aren't. Microdosing mushrooms is not for everybody. Smoking weed's not for everybody. Drinking alcohol is not for everybody, nor should that be. Right? Some people can find the peace, care, and love they need by praying the rosary. Like, I'm Catholic, like doing those things. But if what you're hearing from these two sounds like something that might, to Eric's point, bring the peace you're so desperately searching for, maybe the alternative is out there, right? Yeah. Maybe the alternative is out there. Eric, what you're wanting to do first through First Air Foundation and Operation Soul Rescue is, okay, this has changed your life, right? You can say, if things have happened, this has changed your life. You want to be able to bring this to more of your colleagues, comrades, friends, brothers, sisters, right? So how can folks come alongside you, lock shields with you, and help you in this effort?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting from our community, from in working outward, right? So combat control, controllers, our families, and then we're gonna, as we get bigger, going out there. But yeah, firstair.org, and you can look up Operational Soul Rescue, and then we have a document in there, and in a tab on our webpage. It says what each donation can help, how many it could treat. But yeah, I mean, we take the guys down to Mexico so that way they're completely unplugged from the noise that they're in their environment. We're bringing them down there where they can concentrate on healing, and it's a great experience, man. I mean, hell, I'd want you to do it. It's just, and yeah, I mean, you talk about religion, that's sometimes it gets kind of sticky, but I'm a Catholic and I still believe
it does, right? Because like part of it is like, how do you, the overtly religious guy is like, I don't know, am I allowed to do this? Like, how does this jive? Yeah, I'm sure there are people listening like, I don't know, man. How does that jive with my beliefs here?
Well, it's like going to war, right? You're just like, oh, what am I doing? But it's like, well, if God is for us, who can be against this type deal, And I mean, if this exists, it comes from the ground. And I mean, it just made me, and if anything, it's brought me closer to God. I mean, I pray every night, but now, like when I pray, I truly, I'm grateful for the things that I have, and I'm grateful for friends like you and people I've met like Lumi, my mom. I mean, it just makes you, I think ayahuasca was the scariest and the best thing I've ever done in my life. And it's brought me the way my God intended me to be, a good, whole human being. So how can you go against that? How can you not side with that, but it's everybody's journey. I mean, that's why it's called a journey. People have to want to be there. And when the God or the universe or whoever you believe in, when it says, okay, you go ahead and do it, it's life-changing, man. That's all I can tell you. It'll change your life.
That's quite a testimonial from a man who has stood on a battlefield face to face with people wanting to kill him, has stood on a battlefield as war rages on to then say, it is the scariest and best thing I've ever done with my life.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. You two, this has been amazing, right? Super educational, right? I think our listeners probably learned a lot, and hopefully they remember, you go to find the First Air Foundation. We'll put links in the show, right? Support their effort, help them bring this to others. Nobody's forced to do this. Nobody has to do it. But if you donate and you can help them, they can go find the guys and gals that this will resonate with, and you can hear more testimonies like what Eric just said. Awesome. This has been fun, you two. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. You have to come to our gala.
I know he's been putting the EH on me for years to try to get that. It's always not worked with timing, but anything I can do to support, I'll always do it.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Great to see you. Talk to you soon. Hang for a second. Let me sign out the show, but I want to talk to you for a minute. Okay.
All right.
Absolutely incredible. What an honor to talk to those two. This came across, man. Eric sent me a note a couple weeks ago. We've been kind of playing phone podcast tag on when we can make this happen. But to be able to do it and share their shared experience right now, their united journey to bring this to more people, utterly incredible. What a great time. What a great educational, just a great chance to learn. And I know we'll be hearing more from these two amazing humans as we go. I'm Brian Jodas. That's been this episode of Pick Up the Six.